Are you having questions about how your paid ads are performing? Are you wondering how do I strategize, plan, and just make sure that your paid ads and your web activity is driving sales? Well, this video is for you. My name is Doug Digital, professional digital marketer, and I would like to show you a couple of pages in Google Sheets. What a strange intro. We're going to run with it. So what I've done is I created a really simple series of tabs in our spreadsheet. Each tab represents a sort of a document or dashboard that you might come across. So the first one that we're going to go through is business stats, and this is going to show you the essential numbers that you need to know for your the kind of the senior powers that be, your managers, your CEOs, your stakeholders, your clients are going to want to know. The second one is going to look at a sort of a reduced version of Google Analytics. It's going to have some web statistics there. And the third one is going to resemble some of the stats that you see when you go into your paid ads. Now, a couple of disclaimers to start with. There are so many statistics, so many numbers that we could pull. I've tried to bring it down to some of the more essential numbers so that we can then extrapolate and perform some calculations off the back of them. Now, because I'm not using every variable, every value, some of this may not apply to you, some of it might do, but I hope that this is going to give you some foundation to begin with. And once again, within that, this might work differently if you are a B2C business or a B2B business. Now, this example is presuming that we're running an e-commerce store for a B2C sort of clothing chain. So on each slide, you'll notice the first column, it is a line of products. So shoes, t-shirts, glasses, a jumper, and some socks. So we're in business stats right now. This is the first of the three slides. So as I've said here, the business stats are the numbers that your clients, managers, CEOs and shareholders are really going to care about. And for you as a digital marketer, knowing these numbers and knowing how you have influenced them is going to be really, really important. So starting from left to right, we're going to start with unit cost. So this is simply how much money does it cost to produce one of those items. Now, if you're a software as a service, so you're more in the B2B space, that cost might be, let's say, licenses for software that you use or that you provide to clients, and you'll have a cost per client or per sale. So unit cost here, it costs us for a pair of shoes, it costs us £10 to make a pair of shoes. Now, the next column is currently dynamically populating, and this column is indicative of how much we have spent on our paid ads. So this is automatically pulling in from the third slide that you'll see in a moment. The next column is sell price. So if your unit price is £10, how much are you selling it for? So in this case, our shoes are going to sell for £15. And the next slide is automatically pulling in from the web statistics. Automatically pulling in from the web statistics the number of sales. Now, this language will change depending on the platform. It might be conversions, it might be sales, it might be acquisitions, it can be, again, dependent on your business. Sales revenue. So for those 5 sales, if we multiply that by our sales price, that's going to give us our sale price, that's going to give us our sales revenue. So how much has that product brought in for all of those sales? And then next to that is the total cost. So to sell those 5 products, what is the total amount that we have had to spend, including our unit costs and our marketing costs? So in this case, we've sold 5 shoes at a cost of £10 each, so that's £50, and then we've also got £20 of marketing costs, which brings us to a total cost of £70. So then, that for many of us seems to be where the conversation ends. And you may be thinking, well, some of you may be thinking, well, obviously not. There's more to this. There's more stats. Yes, there is, but already there is definitely a big disconnect between when you're getting started and when you really get into the nitty-gritty of it. And so, two of the essential numbers that you're going to want to know is your gross profit and your profit margin. So gross profit is simply your total money. What is the total amount from your sales revenue that is profit you can put in your back pocket and you can go out and spend it? So a lot of people, particularly in paid campaigns, get fixated on this sales revenue number. They forget that there's a unit cost, they forget that there's marketing costs, and they just look at sales revenue. Whereas in fact for this one, because I've actually spent, oh, that's actually wrong, that number. Not sure why that says £5. Oh no, sorry, I read the wrong number there. I thought that was higher. Yep. So for I've taken in £75, but I've given away £5, leaving me only with £5 in my back pocket. Now that also translates into percentage. So for the £75 I've made, I'm keeping 6.6% of that. Now, generally speaking, if you're lean and green online, particularly some software agencies, you can sometimes get your profit margins up into the high 70s, even to the 80s for some, because their overheads are so low. For e-commerce and particularly retail, clothing retail, your profit margins are going to be much tighter. I'd expect to see this realistically fall closer to about 20 to 30%. But still, what I've done here is I've done a really simple conditional format, so we can see at a quick glance from green down to red being the lowest profit margin. So green here, these glasses, they're doing really well. They've got a really good profit margin, all things considered. Whereas those shoes at the top, they're really not doing it. So know these numbers, and then aim to know how you have influenced them. And how can we do that? We're going to take a look into the next two tabs. So we're going to start with web statistics. Now, this is a sort of hypothetical extraction of some Google Analytics data. There are so many variables out there, and there's so many ways that you can cut Google Analytics, whether it's behavior flows, whether it's content groupings, whether you're looking at quality of traffic, whether you're looking at conversion paths, so whether they come in via organic to direct to referrals, or this. So much that you can do, but keep it simple and then you can expand on that. So going back to our list of products, I've got a URL for each of them, and again, keeping it simple, we've just got a category, so products, and then the little URL string there. Sessions. It's not unique sessions, it's not users, and nothing fancy. It is purely sessions. How many people have landed on that page? Well, not even people, it's just how many sessions, how many times has that content been viewed. So it could have been viewed multiple times by multiple people, but we're just looking at the total number of sessions there. And then average session time. So for each one of those sessions, what is the average length of time that someone spent on the page? We then move over from that to bounce rate. So session is going to give us a nice idea of volume coming to the page. Session time is going to give us an indication of the quality of that traffic. So generally speaking, a really short time on the page and a really high bounce rate says to me that your page doesn't convey authority. It isn't what they wanted. They've come on expecting one thing and they think, oh gosh, yeah, no, don't like this, and they leave. A very high session duration means that they're spending time on your page, they're consuming your content, and they're really understanding it. So we can see a range here of session times, going from 59 seconds up to 4 minutes for these glasses. So it's a really good number. I tend to think that my approach is generally that 2 minutes is a healthy amount of time. I would have some serious questions about a 59-second session. But then let's also look at bounce rate. So bounce rate is how many people have come to your page and then immediately left it again. They haven't navigated around the site, they haven't done anything. They've come to your page and they've gone away again. Now, you might have a conversion captured on that. You might do, like maybe it's an event, someone's clicked on something, done something. But still, forgetting conversions and events for a second, a really high bounce rate is always an indication that your web page needs work in some way, shape or form. Now, in isolation, it could mean a couple of things. It could mean that they've come to the page and expected one thing from your ad or your message or wherever they came from. They get to your page and think, this doesn't seem right. Or it could be, in the example, let's say of the glasses, they've spent a lot of time. So on average, a lot of people are coming to the page and really enjoying the content. They're spending a lot of time on it, but then they leave. So that could be an indication that there is no discernible call to action that will direct them elsewhere on the site. So your page is almost operating in isolation. So they come here, they go, cool, thanks for that, bye, see ya, and you never see them again. You want to be always thinking, what is the next step? So you get them on your page for 4 minutes. They digested everything. They read your entire essay, and then they get to the end and they're like, cool, and then they leave. You've got to bounce. There's nothing there that's really saying, yep, this content needs my attention, and I want to learn more. So we then move over to goal conversions. Now, the language in analytics and within your PPC is a bit different. A conversion is not necessarily a sale. Not necessarily. In this example, I've just assumed it is, but it could be a form completion. It could be interacting with an element on the page, completing a quiz. The key thing here with conversions is that it is an action that someone has taken, and that action typically you designed because it demonstrates intent. So it could be a form completion. They're interacting with an element. They've done something meaningful that says, yep, this person's interested. Now, we then have our completion rate. So we know our goals, and they can be multiple goals, or they can be in one goal. And then what we have is our completion rate, which is essentially what percentage of these sessions, these 15,000 sessions here for shoes, translated into a goal. So in this case, 5, which translates to a goal completion rate of 0.03%. Now, it's really futile for me to tell you what is a good and bad goal conversion rate, because it will depend entirely on your goal completion rate. I believe it's wordstream.com. They do really good breakdown by sector, looking at Google Ads conversion rates and completion rates. So for my industry, I typically work with financial services. So B2B, our Google Ads ideal conversion rate or completion rate for a lead capture form, you're looking at between sort of 1.5 and 3%. A bit of a range there, but it really depends. So again, that might be higher in e-commerce, where you've got a more direct intent. I want those shoes, I want that t-shirt. It's a lot more intent, whereas you might have some page that is very loosely related to a topic. So let's say it's, I don't know, it's an information article on how to manufacture shoes, and then your business is leads for you're an embroiderer, or what do they call them, a cobbler. It makes shoes, like a tailor. So it could just be an interest event. So you have really low bounce rate, high session time, but your page just doesn't have as much intent behind it as a product page. And then we have conversion value. Now, out of the box, Google would typically ask you to just assign a value to your conversion. So how much does that action mean to you? Now, this is a hand you can do this manually if you know your average kind of revenue generated down at the lead level. So if you captured 100 leads and then one of them converted into £1,000, you could roughly work out your lead value for one lead. Assuming that 1 in 100 is converted into X amount, you can then extrapolate a single value or a numerical value for one lead, and then you can use that to then make some cost estimates for when you come to your paid. But when you start refining your Google Analytics, what you can do is automatically extract data from your CRM. So if, for example, you use something like a Shopify, super easy, link it up, and then your conversion value here, your goal conversion, will be pulled from your Shopify metrics. So then that will link and say, hey, this is converted into this with a value of £75 in revenue. So I'm assuming that to be the case now. I'm assuming that this is pulled in from our CRM, from our website, into Google Analytics, and it's pulled in £75 in revenue, and that is then what is being reflected in our business numbers. In our business stats, our shoes are generating they've generated £75 in sales revenue. So there's a couple of additional statistics here that we haven't touched on today. But yeah, like unique sessions, unique users, number of users, like referring domains, medium like source, always quite important with GA. But here, forget all of that just for now. I just want to focus on what is coming through, not necessarily where at this point in time, because what I want to bring your attention to in the next slide is how that relates to our paid. So let's assume this is all done through paid activity. And then that will then bring us on neatly to paid stats. So as I've said here, you've generated a revenue, but are you actually making money? Now this is the big, really big glaring error that I see a lot of new players in the digital marketing space make the mistake with. They come in and they say, I have generated for you X amount of leads or X amount of revenue. Wipe their hands, give me some money please. And the CEO or the manager or the client says, hang on a second, how much is GP? How much is cold hard cash in my pocket? And again, this goes back to the importance and the value of knowing those first numbers. So being able to know from day one your average shoe cost. What is your expected profit margin? What is your profit margin on your glasses? Now, presumably they will have, let's say, glasses will have 0 marketing spend. So they've got a 75% profit margin. Excellent, great, really good. So you can then leverage that and you can work backwards because you know, okay, well, their unit cost is this, their sell price is this, marketing costs have been this, therefore total profit is this, profit margin is this. That's where you want to get to. Instead, what a lot of people do when they start is they focus on this column here, column C. I have spent on glasses £30. And that is converted £1,039.87 in revenue. Excellent, great. 34.66% ROAS, return on ad spend, fantastic. That's really good. That's excellent. That's really, really good. But let's break that down. So let's use the example actually of glasses because I think that's quite a nice little exercise because that's clearly got the highest conversion value. So let's remind ourselves first of all of glasses. Glasses, unit cost is £20. It's the most expensive item. The sell price is $79.99. Again, the most expensive item. So currently we've spent £30. By the way, £30 is nothing in ad spend. But if you're starting off, really that's the sort of numbers you should be playing with for testing. So glasses, £30. Clicks, 40. Already looking to be a bit sus, a little bit sus. Impressions. So clicks is how many people have seen your ad. How many people have clicked on your ad. Impressions is then how many people have seen it, but not necessarily clicked on it. And then we go to CPM, stands for cost per 1,000 views. So this is simply we look at the overall spend divided by the impressions, and then we type. So 1,000 times your cost divided by impressions, which gives us your £7.50. Let's just double check that. Yep, there we go. So it's it's 1,000 times your spend divided by your impressions. There we go. And that gives us our cost per 1,000. So what this allows you to do is say, basically, if your ad is not being served to many people, you can really see here, well, it's got £7.50 per 1,000 views. That's really expensive, really, really expensive. Now, we are actually missing a very, very important metric. Now, I wonder if at this point in time you recognize what that is. But one of the most important metrics, I'm going to add it in here to the right, is CPC, also known as cost per click. So this is essentially your cost divided by the number of clicks. We can just get rid of that. Now why that is 0 is probably there we go. Let's just do that for all of these columns actually. Just expand that. Okay, so we've got some extremely low cost per clicks here. Extremely low. That's very exciting. So cost per click, it is essentially how much are you paying per click as a reflection of your total spend. So cost per click is a really good measure that you can essentially use as a nice measuring tool to see which one is most cost effective for driving traffic to the website. So going back to our glasses example, it's got a supremely high cost per click, very high. It's giving me the heebie-jeebies, to be honest. Now, I should add, in B2B, this is actually this is nothing. For B2B, a CPC of 75p is pennies. Now we've got a couple of 00 clubs here, which is good. Shoes 00, 13, 00, 00, 10, 00. So that means it's just basically less than 0.00 p per click, which is fantastic. Very good. But again, let's keep on that glasses example. We then move over to objective. Now, objective is something that you would determine at the very start of your campaign. Now, objective is going to be broken down in your traditional marketing funnel, so awareness, consideration, and conversion. So I have chosen for this one awareness. So when you choose your objective, what it will do is, depending on your ad platform that you've selected, your objective will determine a couple of variables: who your ad is going to be served to, based on who is most likely to perform the action that you specified as an objective. 2, it's going to determine your key result metric. So when you look at your results and you look at key results, your key result is going to be determined by this. So awareness is going to be your cost per views, cost per clicks. So conversion is going to be your cost per lead, or cost per video view. It's going to be basically determined by your objective, but also objective will determine essentially the placements that you can select, but also the type of ad formats. Now, some of this may be applicable to all of those ad platforms. Some ad platforms will have like little intricacies to it. So, for example, I'm most familiar with LinkedIn ads, and LinkedIn ads has some really strange quirks when you choose your objective. But objective is very important, and you want to make sure that you have a variety of objectives so that you are capturing or generating campaigns at different levels. I know some people may disagree with that. There is a really it's a tangent here. There is a really big school of thought in e-commerce particularly, and particularly with those that are looking to really accelerate their ads quickly. Some of them think, no, don't care about awareness, don't care about web traffic, don't care about webs like video views. All I care about is 100% conversions. That's all I care about, just 100% conversions. But you're going to be missing a trick, guys, because what you can do is you can set up some really cool retargeting campaigns. Old classic, one of my favorites, is where you have a video and your objective is video views or engagements. And then what you do is you serve your video to people, gets auctioned out to people, and they start consuming your video. And then you start building an audience out of people that have consumed or watched a large proportion of that video. So let's take an example. You've got someone that started watching your video, switched it off after 5 seconds, or they watched the entire thing. Who to you is going to be the hotter lead? Who to you is going to be most relevant or most interested in your services? Well, the person that's watched your entire video. They're thirsty for more. So slight tangent there. We then go to click-through rate. Click-through rate, again, is a sort of a division of the impressions. So out of those impressions, what percentage of people clicked? So click-through rate there, 16% is very high, 1% very low. Now, again, I need to stress there is no point me extrapolating meaning from these, A, because it's arbitrary, but B, your industry will have its own benchmarks. You need to research your own industry, run some tests, and find your own benchmark. So what you can do if you're just starting is use your web statistics and Google Search Console. Google Search Console is probably a better choice for this one, because you can start seeing, okay, for Google Ads, for example, when people see my search terms, what's the average click-through rate? And over time you can watch that. So then when you start bidding on terms, you can almost have a like-for-like comparison. So Search Console can be a good place to go for metrics, so benchmarking. so that you know where you stand to get started. But again, please do not make assumptions about your click-through rate or any of these metrics until you have done your due diligence on your industry and your own company benchmarks and your own clients' benchmarks. Next up is conversions. So we've already spoken about these. It's going to be a different measure of success depending on where you are in that life cycle. So conversions at the business stats level is sales. It's sales. That's your meat and nuggets. And then your web stats, though, your web stats could be form completions. It could be sales. It could be an add to cart, because that's an objective that we can add within Facebook ads. It could be an add to cart objective. So be very deliberate with your conversions. There's a real habit that I've seen, and I was even guilty of this when I started with LinkedIn ads, is you open up your pixel, you've got your events there, and you're like, conversions, all of the conversions. I want everything. I want contact us, I want help us, I want careers requests. Everything is a conversion. And then what happens is you look at your conversions, you think, this is great. This is really good. We've got 13 conversions now. Now for this one, I know that they're sales, but those conversions could be contact us messages. They could be job applications. You're running a B2B business. You're trying to get lead inquiries through to the sales team. And you're like, yeah, guys, it's all right. I've got you. I've got 50 conversions. And they're like, we've had 2. And you're like, no. I can see it. I've got 50. I'm like, no, we've got 2. And then the recruiting team are like, hey, we've had a real influx. Great, cool, thanks. But because they're not necessarily related, they're probably going to be poor quality leads. The important thing here is that you need to be hyper specific with your conversion. Remember, a conversion is a meaningful action that someone takes. It needs to be meaningful to you, to what you're measuring, and it needs to be meaningful to these numbers. I'm assuming that your paid efforts at the moment are for lead capture or conversions from a business perspective, but you can just as easily have a conversion campaign or the objectives being kind of leads for recruiting. So that's perfectly valid, but just for this purpose, this is purely driving the bottom line paid campaigns. So remember, be hyper clear on what your events are that you're going to be tracking. We then move over to conversion rate, which is virtually identical to our conversion rate on web stats. Now, ROAS. Okay. Remember when I said earlier that people fixate on conversion value and spend. 2 numbers that accentuate that fixation is ROAS, return on ad spend. So in our example of the glasses, for £1 of advertising cost that advertising cost that I spend, I generate £34.66 in revenue, which equates to a return of £3,466.23. That sounds incredible. If you told me that you could spend £1 and you'll get 36 back, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds amazing. That sounds brilliant. Oh, sorry, £34.66. That sounds brilliant. Sign me up. I need some of that juice. That is good stuff. But that has no bearing on your costs. No bearing whatsoever on your costs. Remember, for every one of those 13 conversions, we have to spend £20, and then we also have to incorporate £30. So that brings our total cost to 290. But let's say actually your profit margin was much lower. Let's say that it cost you £40, and also let's say that because this is a little bit more expensive, let's say that you actually spent £50. Let's just bump up some of these metrics that are a little bit more reflective of the other ads. And let's say that you brought in, I don't know, 5,000 clicks, still quite high. So 90,000. So I look at this and I think glasses, we've got almost 2,079% return on ad spend. Wow, that's amazing. That's brilliant. Excellent. Whoa. But let's then flip back over to glasses. We've got gross profit margin of 45.19%, and we haven't brought in 1,039. We've brought in less than half of that. We've actually generated £469, which is actually the same as these socks. It's comparable to these socks. These jumpers. And actually, the jumpers cost us less. So actually, the jumpers got a better profit margin. But we always focus so much on this number here, return on ad spend, and return on ad spend percentage. But also, what we don't think about is your break-even return on ad spend. So essentially, what is your the number that you need in order to be profitable? So it's normally, I believe it's this off the top of my head, I think it's 1 divided by, I think it's your profit margin. So which is, where's your profit margin? So jumper. So our break even, for those that don't, what I've just done is I've just made a really quick calculation of what is our break even profit margin. So our break even return on ad spend is 2.21. So anything above that for glasses, so if we had a return on ad spend of less than 2.21, then our ad is not actually going to be profitable. So a lot of us don't remember that we need to make sure we know our break even ad spend. I keep saying ad spend. ROAS. Very, very, very important number. You need to know this so that you can then start building in some automations, which is when it gets really exciting. I will have to double check. If that isn't correct, I'll get the correct calculation in the comment section. But yeah, so you need to know your break-even return on ad spend. Yeah, it's 1 divided by your profit margin. Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I'm overthinking it. Yeah, so you absolutely need to do this, because what often happens is people will simply fixate on this return on ad spend number, not know how much costs they're incurring with each of those sales, not know how that also tallies up with their total spend, their marketing spend, and then they don't know what number they need to target for their return on ad spend. Now, there are a couple more things that I would like to talk about in future videos. So I've got critical stats. So critical stats are the kind of the additional things that you need to know. So what is your target cost per click? Again, what is your break-even return on ad spend? We can look at approximating and understanding what your target costs are. So we can go through that in the next video, but for this I want it to be very, very simple. I want to bring your attention mainly to the 3 avenues that you need to know about, how they interlink with each other, and then finally how you can extrapolate from that whether you're being profitable. So just a quick reminder there, that break-even return on ad spend is just equals sum and then 1 divided by your profit margin. So let's say your profit margin is 40%, 2.5. There we go. So my 2.5 is the number that I would need for a particular product with a 40% profit margin. And obviously that would be determined there, actually. Yeah, I can leave it there for now, otherwise I'll go down a rabbit hole. There's so much more that we can cover here. I want to hopefully keep things really simple, just to give you a sort of visual summary of some of those things. Lots more to cover. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you think that I've completely butchered this, let me know as well, because there's so much to learn, there's so much to discover. I'm always learning, and I hope to learn from you guys in the comment section as well. I hope that we can share knowledge. Let me know what you would like to see next, and yeah, have a fantastic day. I've been Doug Digital. You've been watching my YouTube channel, my channel, any social media account. Ta-ra.